Welcome to the Tea Time Podcast. I'm Amadeo.
And I am Lukasz.
最後に約束しろ。
分かってるわ。
What up, Lucas? How you doing?
What's up, Amadeo? I'm feeling good. You?
Feeling great. I'm feeling pretty clean, that's for sure.
Okay. I like it. You're looking fresh.
You too. But you always look good.
I mean,
I can't even stunt. You just always look good.
Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Mr. Swab, with the words, with the looks, always making me feel some type of way. We be going in on here sometimes.
For real though. So you know what happened to me today? I got home from work. Well, before, when I was at work, I was talking to one of my coworkers, and she was like, it's gonna rain all day today. She's like, and I can't wait because I'm gonna be able to take a nap. I'm like, you know what? A nap sounds so wonderful.
Especially when it's raining.
Especially
and
when
you can hear the rain.
The ambience just set for you.
Yeah.
And then I went home and I was like, maybe I can get this young nap in too. It'll be raining. It'll be cooler. Won't be so humid. Didn't rain.
No, sir.
Didn't rain. I had meetings to be in, and needless to say,
there was no nap.
Yeah, no,
it's BS.
How are you? What were you up to today? What was your day like?
No, I'm good. We're putting up. Well, I am putting up the landscape lighting around the house. And it was my dad's idea, and it's a good idea. So today was day 3 of the project, and I finally finished it up. So it's set, rocking and rolling. The only thing we need to do is install the transformer and in its final resting place, so to speak.
Wow.
Get electricity going to it, and then it's good to go. So I'm excited for that, but it made me realize that I love home improvement projects. I love doing this kind of stuff, with my own 2 hands. And it's a lot of fun, because you're doing something to make your living your life better in some way. Plus, it's fun. It's just something to do, and you learn that you're capable of kind of doing anything you want. Well, for the most part, I don't know. It was just fun, something new for me to do, and I'm happy with the work. I did it pretty much start to finish. My dad bought the supplies. Like I said, it was his idea, but I don't mean to say that pridefully, but
hey, but you put the work in. You know what I'm saying?
I guess I'm happy with the fruits of my labor, so.
I
can't wait to see it.
I can't wait to see it. I want to see it,
Yeah, well, we'll just have to wait a couple hours.
You bragged about it a little bit, so I'm just, I want to see it. It's, interesting that you bring up labor, home improvement, I guess, because you're right. You can kind of just do whatever you want, but it's what you make of it at the end of the day.
Exactly, yeah. And, doing this project here, this is my parents' home, but it just makes me realize, going through it, I just would catch myself thinking if this was my house, I might do this differently, or I might add this, and so that's kind of where the fun comes in, because you're when you finally have your own home, you can really, or your own living space, whatever it is, apartment, you can really do to it what you want and create the place you envision for yourself.
Yeah.
All the little nuances, you finally have control.
I think that's what excites me about taking the next step in my life, really, that aspect where you have total control of what everything is, the looks and everything.
Yeah, definitely. And just, the ability to do whatever it is you want, no hesitation, no one can tell you otherwise. You're just cooling,
Yeah. Well, all that being said, we have a smooth little transition into today's topic.
Yeah. No, let's.
Go ahead, give him the disclaimer, my guy.
So, for everyone watching, Amadeo and I have known each other for like the past 11 years. So a lot of the stuff that we talk about on this podcast, we just chit chat and shoot the shit between each other from time to time. And so we just figured that it'd be cool to bring those topics into a more focused light here on the show. So
today, our more focused topic is I guess I couldn't find the words to really describe what the topic is, but we came to the decision of calling it the human condition.
The human condition.
The human condition. And it all started with a question.
And that question was,
if you could do anything, what would you do and why?
and like job wise, we're talking job wise, like
career
path,
yeah.
And it just it sparked an interesting conversation. We hope you enjoy. Feel free, please add your comments and suggestions, whatever you have to say. But yeah, so what did you answer? What?
Ooh, we're gonna start with me, huh? Okay.
I mean, I can go first.
I'll go first. Okay.
But so Amadeo,
All right.
let me ask you this question:
All right. Shoot.
if you could be anything you want in the world, what would it be? No strings attached. Like whatever it is you're gonna be. I think I remember how I phrased the question too. If you could be anything you want in the world, what could it be? And with that, you become like the top 5 in the world, and whatever it is, the knowledge, the skills, everything required for that position comes with it.
Okay, so my answer didn't change after like initially thinking about it.
Okay.
Just because, so I would be a fighter jet pilot. Simply just because I think all my life I just wanted to fly. Like, pretty much it. Like, my aspirations lie in just flying.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, I don't do that now, right? Why wouldn't I pursue that, right? But, so there's that.
My response
What would be yours? Yeah.
I would want to be a professional freestyle skier. I just, I love skiing, but I'd love to just be fearless and like be able to do tricks and just like, make that my life, make skiing my life.
Yeah.
My life revolves around skiing.
Yeah. Just like mine would just be flying,
Yeah.
It'd be
Taking down the bad guys.
taking down the bad guys, flying about, going
pretty
at
badass, dude. Like
going at extreme speeds.
Oh yeah, Mach 2, 7G, and,
For
like,
real.
missiles away.
And break the speed of sound.
Bro, that'd be some Top Gun shit.
Or how does that go? Yeah. Oh man.
I call you Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise. What's funny is that not immediately, but like, shortly after you asked me those questions, I thought to myself, it was kind of a selfish decision that I picked what I picked,
Yeah.
And then it's interestingly enough that you pick something that you would be fruitfully enjoying at the end of the day too.
Selfishly too, because like, if I mean, you can make the argument that as a fighter pilot, it's selfish. Like, it's not selfish because you're, fighting for the country and protecting people's rights and making the world a better place. And you could argue that if I was a professional freestyle skier, like I could give other people hope and like push the boundaries of the sport, for example,
Yeah.
and pave the path for future generation of skiers and whatnot, and leave my mark on the skiing history. So you could argue that it's, from those perspectives, it's not selfish, but I think what you're getting at, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't remember exactly what we said, but initially you don't think about those things when you answer the question, what do you want to be?
Like in the grander scheme of everything, you don't think about the grander scheme.
Right.
You immediately get to
What's going to make me happy?
Yeah, yourself.
Yeah, and like I've asked other people too, and they, their answers are always like, just selfish, like, oh, dude, what would I think it would be fun to do?
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. You know, no one ever says things like, I want to be president, or I want to be the leader of, you know, the biggest nonprofit organization.
Or the best doctor in the world of some sort, you know?
Charity or something, you know?
Yeah.
Well, maybe sometimes people say, like, yeah, I want to be a doctor, but I don't know if they're thinking about the whole healing aspect. The devil in me wants to say that they're thinking of, like, the money and fame and, like,
The
pride and glory that comes with the title of being a doctor.
in that profession.
Yeah.
I could see that, honestly. But I don't think I've necessarily come across anybody that wants to do something for the good of others in a profession.
Yeah, and not because they hate others, but just because
They're looking out for themselves, you know? They're self-serving. Now, I wouldn't even call it selfish. It's more self-serving at the end of the day, you know?
yeah, they're looking out for
Numero uno.
number one, the human condition.
The human condition.
Thanks for this episode, guys. Stay tuned for next week. That's all we want to talk about.
That's it.
Psych. No, I mean,
okay, so you think still kind of laughing. So, okay, I was reading like this, not like a story, but like it was a diagram, and it had like a story. I can't quite remember if it was like a study or anything, but it was talking about shopping carts and gauging human nature from shopping carts.
mm-hmm.
You know, so let's say you go to the store, you park your car, go into the store, you get your cart, grab your groceries, everything. You come back, and now whether or not you have the shopping cart with you, let's just say you had enough groceries that you needed the cart.
Yeah.
Now I guess that the moment that you get to your car, you're putting your groceries away, and you have two decisions after that point.
Well, one decision, two choices.
That's true. One decision, two choices.
Yeah.
And that's either to put the cart in the cart coral, or maybe just leave it right there, you know.
Yeah.
And it continued forward saying that there's no repercussions to leaving the cart there, but there's also no repercussions and or benefits to putting the cart away. Now, in a world where people have, you know, consequences, people still make bad decisions or good decisions, but in a sense, like the biggest example is that in a setting where there are no consequences or benefits,
Mm-hmm.
what do you think most people would do? I mean, personally, I can tell you what I would do.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm like half and half, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes, depending on where I'm parked, if I'm so fucking far from the coral, I might just leave it there.
Yeah.
And like, you know, some days I'll just put it there. It's like of no consequence to me at the same time.
Yeah. I always put the cart
Mm-hmm.
back, no matter how far it is, because at the end of this, like, my mentality is like, one, it's what, 15, 20 seconds at most of
Mhm.
my life. And on top of that, I'm walking. Some sort of exercise, right?
Mm-hmm.
Two, like, I feel like I'm just being a better person by doing so, because then all the carts are in one spot, and I'm doing my part to help the sales associate, who then has to round up all the carts. I'm helping him save time, and in turn, like, maybe he can do something inside, you know, like,
There's a chain
Oh,
to
stop.
there's an effect to the consequence.
yeah.
actually.
And two, like, loose carts in a parking lot aren't the best thing, because, like, what if it gets windy or
Mhm.
something? Like, the carts start sliding somewhere and, like, hit a car and scratch it.
Yeah.
You know, like, again, the owner of the vehicle didn't do anything on, like, as in, they didn't create a situation
where they would
get hit or whatever. But at the same time, there wasn't anything that they could have really done to prevent that from happening.
Mm-hmm.
And so then you just kind of run into the situation where it's just like, you know, the owner of the vehicle is shit out of luck,
mm-hmm.
and the person that's responsible
isn't around.
Yeah. You know, and even if they were, they might be like, ooh, shit. They might not even leave a note.
It's
and like,
not even of consequence to them at that point either.
Yeah.
So basically what the whole, I guess, example shows is whether or not you're a good person, you know?
Yeah, I mean...
like a person that's willing to do right no matter the, you know, the effort.
Yeah, I mean, it also depends, like, so... why do you think people don't put cards back?
See, I was thinking about this a little bit earlier, and 2 reasons. Laziness and indifference.
I feel like the indifference could kind of just be lumped into laziness, you know?
You
But
think
not laziness in terms of action, but like...
Well, then, let me put it to you this way.
You're just... Being indifferent, I feel like you're emotionally being lazy.
And
You're not taking the time to like think about the other person.
Uh-huh. And that's what I'm saying. That's why there would be 2, like indifference and laziness. Lazy people took the time to think that, hey, maybe this might this might hit somebody else, but you know what? Let's play roulette.
Like, okay,
let's gamble.
problem.
Yeah. But indifference is just like, I'm gonna leave this here.
Like naive.
I don't even care about the consequences. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think it's bad. And I'm not
put the cart back.
I don't think it's bad to not put the cart back, but that could be me like trying to be defensive towards like my actions, my own actions,
like,
you know what I'm saying?
Personal bias.
Yeah.
One thing, like, so the people who just like ditch their shopping cart wherever they have it once it becomes empty, like those people.
Yeah, see, there's a special place for those people.
Yeah.
See,
like,
there's people that, you know, leave the carts there, and then there's people that will
like they'll just leave it in between 2 cars.
throw it anywhere.
Yeah, I'm like, dude, like at least, dude, like no, you can't just like leave it all willy-nilly right flipping there. Because like another thing, like what if the cart just like rolls and now it's blocking the whole traffic and everything. Now whoever next person driving has to stop with their car parked, get out, move the cart, and either they're gonna like give in to their emotions and just be pissed about it and like ditch it somewhere else,
Mm-hmm.
or they're gonna have to walk it all the way to the cart corral, right? But they left their car and it's still running in the middle of the road. So now they're like, fuck, I gotta leave my car. I gotta put this cart back. This isn't my responsibility.
Yeah.
You know? And so, one thing though, like, I still don't like it, but the people who at least put the cart like up on a curb or behind like one of those like
something that's gonna stop it.
Exactly.
You know?
Those people, I'm like, all right, well, at least you put it in a safe spot.
And those are the people that fall under lazy.
Yeah, because they're like, all right.
They considered the consequences.
But they just don't want to do all that walking.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? Because there are times where I'll do that. You know what I'm saying? I'll put it on a curb where I know it's not going to move.
Yeah.
You know? And it's like, I'm lazy. That's me being lazy.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I don't know. It's interesting. But yeah, it goes back to the human condition. People just think of number one, and that's it.
There's another example of a train talking about 2 choices again. There's a train coming, and I believe it's like it's going in one direction, and you have the option to either pull the lever and it goes in another direction. Oh, I think it's a loved one is attached to the train tracks, right? There's just one person attached to the train tracks, and you can pull the lever to save them from getting hit by the train tracks. But the train takes another direction, and there's 10 people on the other tracks, right? But you have no relation to them. You know, it's another kind of conflict of interest choice in which you I wouldn't say selfishly decide, but you decide which is the lesser evil, you know. Do you let your loved one that you care deeply for get demolished, or do you think and consider about the larger mass of people that you have no connection to, but their lives are still lives nonetheless?
And those 10 people have their own family and friends, and et cetera, et cetera.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough one.
I personally don't have an answer for that question. Like, I don't know how I feel about it. I don't know how to answer.
I need some time to think about that too. Because, like, if you think about it, not to get morbid, but like we mentioned this earlier, and I think I kind of wanted to bring this up, but like, at the end of the day, when we kick the bucket,
Oof. Okay.
nothing matters.
Oof. Oof. There's people that would dispute that, definitely.
And I believe it, but I'm not trying to like go back and forth.
Yeah.
But if I had a counter argument, well, my counter argument would be that even if there is an afterlife, what you do in before life still doesn't matter because you all end up in the same spot for the rest of eternity, right?
Yeah.
So how you live your mortal life has no impact. I mean, it determines whether you go to heaven or hell, but if you die early or late, or like, you lose $100 here or make $100 there, we all still kick the bucket and die. And we pass into immortality, right? Like the afterlife.
Yeah.
And their money has no value. Nothing has no value. I mean, it's the afterlife, right?
Yeah.
So, again, my main argument is that whatever happens in mortal life,
Yeah.
on this earth, still doesn't matter, right?
Yeah.
And except time. And like,
I mean, I'm glad you bring that up, because earlier we were talking, I brought it up to you that I don't necessarily think the world's gonna end right now anytime soon, but there's somewhere in the back of my head where
it's not too far off.
it could be, it's not a impossibility.
Yeah.
It's not an impossibility, at least in the times that we're in right now.
Mm-hmm.
Who's to say that, like, this is... Who's to say tomorrow's promised? Because tomorrow's really never promised. You could be driving a car and you could just be coming out of Dairy Queen, getting some ice cream in.
Yeah.
And it could be over.
Yeah.
All in that second. But
Yep.
at that moment, the value of your time had already changed, And I think that's where I've been thinking lately. I have my job, I have my family, I have my girlfriend, and I have, like, just friends, family in general. All those things I consider to be valuable to my time, So with the thought that the world could end, or the thought that tomorrow is just not promised in general, it makes me value time differently.
Yeah.
Where we're living in a very chaotic time space right now, with, social injustice, political unrest, at least in America, and other parts of the world are, addressing different problems, but nonetheless, everybody has some type of strife that they're addressing,
Yeah.
And so all that to be said, going kind of back to, like, does anything mean anything, but time, I don't know. I'm almost in a weird headspace to try to understand where I value my time. Like, I'm 25. You're 25 too. We're in a moment of our lives where we can go to the next point.
Yeah.
So, do I value spending more time with my family instead of trying to make money so that I can pursue my future goals or start my own family of some sort, you know? Or, you know, is it going to be worthless at the end of the day and a waste of time if I decidedly pursue money to achieve goals that aren't in front of me right now, you know?
One morbid thought I came up with, like, just now,
Yeah.
is that, and like, I'm not saying this is the meaning of life, but we're just trying to figure out how to die in the most comfortable way.
Oh, you know, when you verbalize it, it does have a weight to it. Okay, it does have a weight to it.
I'll warn you next time. I thought the morbid thought, but disclaimer would be enough. But not when I hear it said, it does sound pretty rough. But now stick with me, right?
Yeah.
And let that kind of like sink in while I kind of explain it. But
Sink it in there.
where humans only try to find the most comfortable way to die.
Mm-hmm.
And what I mean by that is, okay, I put up the landscaping lighting, right? I spent 3 days, probably a total of 24 hours doing it, right? To set up 6, total of 13 lights, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I spent all that time doing it. Why? So the house looks nicer. Okay, but why do we want the house to look nicer?
So you're comfortable. You're aesthetically pleased.
Exactly. But like,
It's almost like, what's the value in that? Yeah.
because like, I could have done other stuff with that time.
Yeah.
When I die, I don't take the house with me. I don't take the aesthetics with me. Yeah, maybe I'll have the memory, but like, that's it. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, all the shit that I do here dies when I die. It dies with me.
Mm-hmm.
You know? And so it kind of gets me thinking, like, what's the point of investing in the stock market
Yeah.
and doing all this other stuff if it's just super basic? Like, it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't, like, yeah, it adds value to your life, like, financially, but, you know, once you get past Maslow's, like, primary needs or whatever, like shelter, food, like, you have, like,
Like the core needs.
the core physical needs, so you like survive, then it only goes into mental, right?
Yeah.
But after that, like, people say money doesn't buy happiness, you know, like genuine happiness.
Mm.
It's friends and family, the people you fill your life with.
Mm.
You don't need money for that.
Yeah.
You need time.
You need time. And like in the same respect, the time that it took you to do all that, you could spend time, you know, maybe furthering yourself to have, you know, capital to spend time with your family. But like, you know, that's where your time, that's where your time changes. The value of your time changes how you gauge it, you know.
But the thing is, like, you and I could never spend a single dime on our interactions.
Yeah.
You know, like, we don't have to spend money to go to movies or like buy drinks or like, you know, go other places. The only investment really is like the time and like the gas or whatever required. Like, the only investment we need is the investment into like transportation so that we arrive at the same location. But other than that, we don't need to spend any money in order for us to enjoy our time and have a good time and like make the most of it, right?
Yeah.
So again, like, money kind of just like, why do people pursue so much money? You know, why do people want to be billionaires? Like, what's the point of it? You know? And that kind of, I guess, ties into like the where this whole conversation started from, is like, what do you want to do in life if you could do anything, right?
Yeah.
Like, why don't people say? Because I feel like looking back on it, I had a selfish reason too, but looking back on it, everyone's response should be, oh, I want to make the world a better place, you know?
Yeah.
And something related under like that umbrella term, like they want to start a nonprofit, or they want to, you know, do like be a person who works in Africa to like
create irrigation systems of
or something, so they're like self-sustainable. There's like end world slavery, something like that, and homelessness. And if everyone had an answer like that, and everyone was doing something unselfishly, the world would indeed be a better place, because there wouldn't be just pools of huge, enormous wealth. It would be dispersed between the rest of the world. We call me socialist, but
you can't say that right now. Not in this time.
We might have to edit that out. But you know what I'm saying?
I get what you're saying. And I think
it just comes down to the human condition.
The human condition. It almost begs the question, like, from the jump, are humans like innately selfish or negative? You know, like almost innately evil rather than innately good.
A better way to, now that I think about it, because I was of the same mentality, but I think a better way to phrase it is not selfish but self-centered. In the sense that, like, almost by instinct, you think about yourself first, and your world revolves around you, right? And so you just want to do what's going to make you happy, and that's priority number one.
Yeah.
Everything else is literally everything else. Like, it'll never take priority, right?
Yeah. I feel like at the end of the day, we're like animals, nonetheless, you know? We're just complex, but simple, all at the same time.
Yeah, like the innate natural instincts and stuff are very simple.
Yeah, it's very nature versus nurture. Because in that sense, then, like, you know, you can have two people grow up in two different situations, but one of them was born in their family, their parents taught them about being good for the world, you know? And then one of them taught them about not ruling the world, but utilizing their potential to become something great in the world rather than attributing to the world, you know?
Yeah, like a big CEO or something like that, right? Is
Yeah.
that what you're getting at?
Yeah.
Yeah. It does make you wonder, though, you know? I think, yeah, you know, now that I think about it, at first I was like, nature versus nurture, I'm not sure, but I think it's important also to, like, step outside of the family in society. And I have some friends, and I was thinking about it, and I was just like, it kind of hit me. I was like, you guys are the bread and butter of the American corporate and capitalist mindset. What I mean by that is they're consumers. Like the few friends that I'm talking about, like they consume. They just consume in like the natural nature of the word, right? Like they, instead of just like eating at home or like making food or whatever, like they'll go out of their own way to like go pick up some like fast food, right? They'll go to Jimmy John's, or they'll go to like drive like 15 minutes or like half an hour out of the way just to go to like their favorite restaurant or something, right? Or they'll get subscriptions to Netflix and Hulu and streaming services or whatever, and they might not need something, but they're like, oh, I wanted to treat myself, right? It's like, you don't need an 8th pair of sunglasses. What the fuck was the problem with the first one, if not the first 3, right?
Yeah.
So people collect all this shit, and like, same thing with the landscaping light, you know? Like, we're just like consuming that idea, and like, I look at all the junk that's in my basement, and I'm like, that shit was just consumed. Like, what the fuck for? Why? You know? And it's
funny because the longer and deeper we get into this conversation, I'd say the closer and further we get to the question, what's really the point? What's really the meaning?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then that's just I wouldn't even say just nonsensical. That's just like, you know, an unanswerable question.
It is. Well, I mean, yeah.
What's really the point?
It's unanswerable, but funny enough, every answer, almost, I'd argue that pretty much any answer would be acceptable.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We get closer and further away from the actuality of the question.
When you first said that, I was like, okay, maybe you just like tripped up and you were like, oh, closer and further or whatever. But like now I realize that like you actually meant we genuinely do get closer to the truth, but also further from the truth. What if there is no truth?
Oh God. Oh God. See, that's where people bring religion into it, you know, faith. You have some type of faith.
Yeah.
There's purpose.
It's fill in the void.
Yeah, it's a fill in the void. What's crazy to me, you know? Okay, so the next intelligent species after humans, I mean, if you want to call us apex predators, like intelligent,
Yeah.
dolphins, right?
Really?
I believe so. I believe it's dolphins or octopus, one of the two.
I've heard that before.
But they have their own means of communication, you know.
Yeah.
Their own means of communicating, and
They built societies.
they build societies.
Well,
I mean, you know, underwater they do their thing.
they live naturally.
They do their thing. I think a lot of what separates humans from other species or species of animals is the emotional, like, intelligence or the emotional aspect. You know what I'm saying? You know,
and like the being self-conscious, self-aware.
Like if you look at monkeys, our next closest relative, you can see the nurturing part of nature. But I don't necessarily know if there's like emotion attached to every single, you know, monkey. You know, like let's say a mother gives birth to her baby and it's, you know, a little monkey. Obviously she's going to nurture the baby until he's capable enough to do his own thing. But at what point, and if they even have like an emotional connection to it, at what point does that emotional connection actually happen? And is there really,
like, in the sense, when does this monkey stop, like, to the point, like,
when does the rest of nature take over after the nurture is done, you know?
Right.
So,
as in, like, when the monkey can be on its own and doesn't need the mother for support, like, what happens?
Yeah, what happens at that point, you know what I'm saying? That's why I find it so interesting with humans, because if the rest of the animal kingdom is completely cool with living the way they do, why can't humans be satiated
just living the way they do?
Living the way that we do. It's like, that's why I find it the most intriguing, because, you know, that emotional aspect adds so much into our life. We are, I don't want to say it, but I don't understand other creatures, but I believe we might be one of the only species that looks for a purpose rather than survival. Other than survival.
Like being.
Yeah.
I think so too, because, like, I mean, because you could ask, like, what the fuck's the purpose of a deer?
To be food, maybe in somebody else's eyes, you know?
But, like, what if that deer never ends up becoming food? And it just, like, it's born, like, you know, does its thing, and then dies of natural causes. What was the purpose of its life?
Yeah, see, like,
For real.
we're both right here, just like,
What's the purpose of my life? Like, I'm gonna die. What, like, yeah, okay, you can start arguing, like, oh, but you contributed to the world in this way, or you made the world a better place, but, like, we only start thinking along those lines because we do have that, like, intellect as the human species, right? We are able to think on those wavelengths and in those channels that we can make someone's life better, make it worse. But why can't we break through that and think on a higher plane and realize, hey, you know what? We don't really need all of this shit. You know, we could be happy, still kind of just living in caves and whatnot, you know? maybe not to that extent, but just tone down the whole chase for money and like things and like material objects, you know?
Yeah.
Because I feel like a lot of people make that their purpose in life. Like
material.
One thing I can't understand is collectors. Like people that collect things. Like
Yeah.
why? You're like seriously, you are investing all that time and energy and money. Well, not everything you collect has to be expensive, but when you die, you can't take it with you. So like, what purpose? Like, what void is it filling? Like, what? You know, oh, because it's satisfying and like I like to have a full collection of things. It's like, but why are you not okay with like, you know, people could be like, oh, you have OCD or something. Like, you know, I don't want to go down that path, but it just it all it just makes me wonder like, why? What is the purpose in it? In all of it, you know.
Maybe I feel like a lot of things we do are to have purpose. A lot of things we do as humans are to have purpose. Like, let's say, I mean, I've started to take a lot more photos. Like in the past couple of years, you know, after school was said and done, I feel like I was finding different passions, different outlets to bring a more meaningful life to myself, you know. And I think one of the things that I found was like taking pictures or recording things, you know, just for the purpose of memory and that time, you know.
Yeah.
That, and I mean, it just kind of brings us back to time, like the value of time, you know.
Yeah.
You want to, I value time, so I want to keep track of it, whether that be in photos, pictures, and the same thing like collectors do. Items, it's all material at the end of the day, but I think the memories are what bring a larger and grander value for people. I had something else I wanted to tell you. Going back to like collectors,
They collect stuff. It's pointless. Doesn't get them anywhere. They die and can't take it with them. This isn't the Egyptian tombs with all your belongings and possessions.
Yeah, I don't quite remember where I was going with that.
But I don't know, man. Because like, and you know how people say like more money, more problems. I totally believe that too. Because like, that phrase occurred to me like when I was doing the landscape lighting, and I was like digging, and we have ants in the house right now, and I was like digging around the window well, this one right here, and like I found the ant nest. I was like, oh, this is probably where the ants are coming from. And I was like, how fucking annoying is this? Like, you spent money to build a house, and then you get pests, and then you gotta spend money on pest control, and then you gotta spend and they gotta come every so often, right? And then you spend money to make your house look nice, and then you spend money to do fucking landscape lighting, and then you're like, oh, we did it in the front of the house, now maybe we should do it in the back of the house. And he's like, what the fuck are you chasing? Because like that's so much, that's resources, that's money, that's time and energy and like planning and just like mental capacity. Like, okay, you gotta plan it out. How am I gonna run the wire? How am I gonna light up? Should I light this? Should I light that? How many lights do I need? You know, like, I'm gonna die and these lights aren't coming with me. You know?
Yeah. So I remember what I was going for now.
Okay.
So, like you said, you know, you're gonna die. Why am I doing all this? You know, all this is material. You know, and if there's more, then what's the purpose of, you know, everything that I'm doing?
Yeah.
Also, kind of tying into like the self-servingness of being a human. You know, the condition of being a human. I feel as though don't quote me, like I'm not a professional, nothing.
I'm not a rapper.
But I just get this sense that everybody would probably benefit from a little bit of spirituality. And I don't necessarily mean faith, you know. I think I mean more connecting with yourself more. You know what I'm saying?
Nature and like being one with the Force.
Pretty much. Becoming like a Jedi.
Like, all jokes aside, but that's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
No, I totally feel that way too. Like, just be mindful of your presence and others,
and be present, being present, being mindful of everything around you, regardless if it's material or not. I feel like that helps people transition into thinking like, this is material, and the closer I get to spiritual, the closer I get to becoming more serving, but in a more positive way. Because I feel like once for like a better term, self-love,
Yeah.
You give yourself this love through some spiritual or like energy, connectiveness. And from that, you can outwardly change the world. You understand?
Yeah.
It's like what Gandhi said, if you be the change you want to see in the world.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think that comes from more of a spiritual sense rather than faith,
And I think that would also come with the fact that, like, you do realize that, in the end we all die. So while we're here, might as well make it as good as we can.
Purposeful or something,
for others, you know? And I think that it and that echoes what I was saying earlier, that everyone should have a response to the original question. If you could be anything you want in the world, what would you want to be? Everyone should have like a non-selfish response, like, I want to be, you can say something like cliche and cheesy, like, I want to be the light in the world, or I want to be the person who helps bring whatever country out of poverty or something like that, and kind of a final thought, maybe to like tie it all in together, is that, again, we just try to find that comfortable way to live our life before we die, by filling it with, we say like material things, whatever, but just like that time spent with others and whatnot,
Yeah.
So, and then what's the point?
I feel like we have conflicting ideals about it almost. It's not like conflicting, but I think they go hand in hand. It's like a very much a balance,
I feel like we see eye to eye. The thing is, like, the issue at hand is a conflict in and of itself.
Yeah.
It's like, where's the start? Where's the end? Is there?
And what's the purpose?
Yeah. So.
It's like, at the end of the day, it is what you make it, and it isn't anything unless you make it something. But then why? It's just a cycle. It's the cycle of life, the human condition.
The human condition.
Oh, Lord. See, I enjoy these kinds of questions, but at the same time, I always feel like you can come to like no conclusion.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But at least we can come to no conclusion together.
Purposefully.
And share it with our audience.
Our audience, I hope, has come to their own conclusions.
They're probably rolling eyes. What the fuck did I just watch?
Did I just listen to a circular conversation? We've gone full circle.
Yeah,
and you know what? I think it's necessary to talk about these things, because I don't think everybody is very cognizant or will very much acknowledge these things, because people are consumers, and there are different levels of consuming, like not consuming but consuming, and there are different levels of, I'd say, benevolence, but like being purposeful.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know, man. It's the human condition.
The human condition.
There you have it, folks. The human condition.
Well,
tune in next week for our next lecture of sociology and psychology 101.
This is our lecture.
Just play it.
Thank you for coming. Yeah, I think that's pretty much where we should wrap it. What do you think? You have anything else to add to this?
No. I think we covered it pretty well, and whatever else that is added, again, it's a circle. You know, whatever falls in that circle, like, it won't fall in or fall out. It's just gonna be.
I guess
There really isn't much else to add, you know? Like,
my last comments for this entire thing would more just be for the audience. Like, I hope you can find something to be self-serving for yourself. And
but don't forget about the rest of the world.
And don't forget about the rest of the world. Like, we're in such, I guess, strife-filled times. So
especially now, yeah, with the virus and everything.
The virus, what's going on in the world, you know, be mindful. Be mindful.
I guess one thing I do want to add, we could, like, I don't want this to become a big thing, but one thing I have noticed is that, especially now with, like, the virus and stuff, and even, like, over the past couple of years, like, if you look back into, like, kings and empires and stuff, wealth was super concentrated at the top, and, like, you know, everyone else was, like, peasants and stuff. But now, with the virus, you see a lot of people, like, coming together and being more mindful, you know, and there's even advertisements like, hey, you know, we're all going through this, but just send someone a text, say hi to someone, give someone a call, someone you haven't talked to in a long time, just check in on each other, you know. And it's kind of cool because, like, people are just saying, like, be human, be nice, it's going more into, like,
let's get back to it.
Yeah, into, like, emotions and, like, why are we here? It's not like, hey, you know, buy this product or buy that product. It's like, hey, be human. We're going through some shit. Let's go through it together. So I think it's kind of cool. I think that the narrative is changing. It just takes time, you know. And maybe in 100 years, people will be like, "Oh yeah, we do have a purpose. It's to make sure that everyone's happy." Now it's just like, now the narrative is make sure you're happy.
Make sure you're happy, so that can reflect outwardly.
Yeah, but I think maybe in 100 years it'll be make sure everyone else is happy, so that it can reflect inwardly.
Oof. All right. On that note, thank you, folks.
No, it's been a pleasure. Thanks for joining us.
It's been a pleasure. I'm Amadeo.
I'm Lucas.
And this is the Tea Time Podcast.
We'll catch you next week.
Thanks for tuning in.
Stay tuned.
イタチ最後に約束しろ
分かってるわ。